everyone. My name is Dax. You can find me on Twitter at GM_Dax, which is right underneath my name right there. Real quick announcement before I let these lovely people start talking and doing what they're going to do for the next hour. We have reached another stretch goal, over $2,800 raised for Extra Life. We've still got plenty of time left to go. Please donate whatever you can give. And if you can't give, just your presence being here is plenty to support this amazing cause. So without further ado, let's get started. I'd like everyone to take a quick second, tell the folks who you are, maybe what you do, and we're going to popcorn it. So I'm going to start with Kappa.
Hello. My name is Kappa. I also go by Christian in the TTRPG space. I use he, him pronouns. I just hang out, you know? I do my best to promote and participate in stuff like this, charity stuff, and advocating for marginalized communities, at least for work. And now I'm trying to do with my hobby stuff. So I'm relatively new, but that's what that's what I've set out. I'll popcorn over to Tony.
Oh, hey, that's me. Hi, I'm Tony. I play Atlas on Monday Night's Fates Chosen. I am found everywhere on the internet as Captain Lagrange. I work heavily in the costuming, steampunk, geek, and gaming communities, helping to promote all of those things to anyone who will listen to me, really. And yeah, I'm here to have fun and make some cool voices. Let's throw it down to Lady Dame.
Hi, I'm Lady Dame. You can find me pretty much anywhere on the internet at the Lady Dame. I'm here on Wednesdays in the Uncaged anthology and in a couple of other things that are coming up. In my real life, I'm a theater professional most of the time, working backstage, but I costume and do all sorts of things. I stream on my own channel, all of that fun stuff, which I believe brings us to Tal.
Hello there. I am Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. Wait a minute. No, I'm not. I'm Taldaz. You can find me on Twitter with the same name and pretty much any other social media. I kind of like Kappa. I just hang out, make silly voices, do impressions, and draw maps in my spare time for TTRPG stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell. I exist.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. So as you can see, we have an amazing panel today. I'm so excited to hear what these people have to say. And we're going to start off with what is your favorite trick to get into character headspace, to get into their voice or their accent, whatever the case may be. We're going to start with Taldaz this time because you ended on the last round.
All right. Well, my favorite thing to get into headspace for a character, it takes me a little bit to find what kind of character I'm looking for. And it's kind of a twofold process of it will help me find the voice and find the character. And I will usually, on my drive home or whenever I'm just bored, I will try and play out a scenario in my head of what that character is going through. And I'll try different extremes of emotions to try and nail down what they feel, what they think. And it's just random scenarios like a betrayal or they got proposed to or something like that. That's my number one biggest technique that I use, is just trying to play through imaginary scenarios in my head as that character. What about you, Tony?
For me, it either I will build the character and then I will use their background to kind of suss out, what kind of area they're from and what I imagine that voice to be. And sometimes I actually find the voice first and then I just build the character around the voice. Like I have a character that's named Ramirez Villalobos, and that came particularly just from doing Sean Connery impressions. So that's exactly where his voice came from, and I cannot wait to play him. How about you, Kappa?
So yeah, kind of along those same lines. There are times where the voice just already exists and I just have to use it. And a lot of the time, the work kind of goes into it. Like, okay, I want to make a character, and it would make sense for them to have a bit of a fringe accent, or be a little bit more of a bro voice. So I have, some of them also start out as impressions. Like if you ever hang out around the Open for Adventure Discord, exclamation point Discord in the chat, you know that I have a pretty convincing. I'm gonna be modest. An okay Patrick Warburton impression. So he voices Kronk, Joe Swanson, and so that's so you know it's like, hey Peter. So it's I do kind of like this voice, and I absolutely needed to make a character out of this voice. And so there's stuff like that. Something a little bit more silly, but then there are really serious ones that I try and really hard to find and like Tal does, practice scenarios, seeing what voices would fit in that. But yeah, LD, what you got?
Oh, I mean, I've done all sort. I pull out every trick in the book to try and find a voice for a character. I talk to myself a lot, and I sort of miss not commuting as much anymore because I don't have that space to talk to myself. I pull from impressions, and I remember I go to a lot of the voice actor panels at conventions, and I remember it was Nancy Cartwright who said that at one of her very first panels that she was like, you know, Hank Azaria, all of his characters that he does for The Simpsons are all just bad impressions of other people. Like they're not even really good impressions, but he somehow manages to make these great characters out of like what are essentially terrible impressions. Sometimes I'll play with the range of my voice and find what works. I also like there's some accents that I know that I do. I took French for like 6 years in high school. I have a French accent, so every
Oh,
Oh no.
Oh no, everything have explode.
oh no.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
dig it.
there she is.
No, I'm back. No,
Okay.
sorry. Sorry about that. And now it tells me my connection's unstable. Where was I? Oh, so French. I do French accent. I took French, so I have a French accent that I like to pull out in a character. Or I took accent and dialect classes in college because I was a theater major, and so I studied an Irish accent, which is where like Aoife Gallert came from. One of the characters that I have in a podcast coming up is actually a Deanna Troi impression from Star Trek The Next Generation. She's a tricky one because it's not a real accent, but it's still an accent, and so trying to figure out what all of her vowel sounds are, and I have to go through. I don't know how if when you're trying to find voices, like if you like when you find that voice, like what you land on to like sort of get you into it. But like with Deanna Troy's voice, I just list off the names of the crew members because it gives me the sounds that I need. So I say Riker, Worf, Data, Picard, Counselor Deanna Troi of the Starship Enterprise, and then suddenly I have a variation on Deanna Troi, and I use that as my character voice for something. Yeah, because yeah, so I've run the gamut in terms of how I find that voice, and it's a lot of playing. It's a lot of talking to myself and a lot of playing.
One thing you just mentioned that I think we came up with, or there's an actual word for it that we used in the chat before all this, but trigger phrases.
Yeah.
Things that you say to get yourself immediately into that character, either be it the mentality of them or just to find that voice in less than a second or so. You obviously just listed off some of the trigger phrases you have for your Deanna Troi voice. What are some of the other trigger phrases for the rest of y'all?
All right. For me, when I'm doing Atlas's Iolan accent, it's closer to Russian. So I always say "До свидания," and that helps bring me into the Russian accent. And I go from there, and it allows me to switch into that. And if I say "Oi," then I can just kind of go into my British accent. And then I usually use French fries to bring me back to American English.
Ooh, yeah. So I've also got like a lot of just weird ones, but I'll go over some of the stuff that you can find me doing on stream. So like Verve started out as a caricature of a Brooklyn accent, and so to get into the Verve character voice again, Numenera campaign Saturdays at 5:30 Pacific. Anyway, Verve, I'd start out with a rant about pizza. You know, the crust was thin, but not too thin. You can't have too thin of a crust, or else the pizza gets soggy. So, yeah, when as soon as I'd start talking about pizza in Verve's voice, that starts to come through, and then it takes me a while to get out of it. I get stuck in that.
I know that feeling. I know
yeah.
how it
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah,
I get stuck in voices all the time.
We all know how that goes.
I live on the West Coast, and I have for most of my life. So, if you watch the Rebirthday stream, I played Tanklin Shartfist, and really, Tanklin Shartfist is just introducing. Hi, I'm Tanklin Shartfist, and it just automatically, like, I settle into that. But I can't do that with any other phrase. Like, I can't go. It's hard for me to go into that voice without initiating the startup sequence for Tanklin. But yeah,
The startup sequence. I love that.
I like
Yeah,
that phrasing
that's
a
good.
lot, actually. I know for me, one character that everyone will get to see later tonight is a character I came up with for Alex's Ravnica campaign named Gardon. And he went through the gamut of voices, me trying to find him, but eventually I landed on a voice that was based primarily on Christopher Judge from Stargate SG-1. And the trigger phrase that I use for him, well, it's changed, but when I first started playing him, he was very stoic, but didn't think of himself as a person kind of character. So his motto and his trigger phrase was, "A tool does not concern itself with comfort."
Nice.
Okay,
And-
so quick interruption. We didn't do donation incentives with this this segment because it is only an hour long. But we did have a request from chat, if anybody would be willing to do it, that maybe have you do a voicemail message in a voice of your choosing.
Oh, I'd do that in a
Oh,
heartbeat.
I'll totally
Oh,
do that.
I've already said it in
100%.
chat.
All right, so why don't we start with LD and we'll popcorn it.
Wait, what? Am I doing it right? No.
You wanted to do it, so go.
Oh, right now. Oh, okay. Oh golly, I was not prepared right now. I thought it would be a later recording and I'd get to make it like sound good. Okay.
Okay, so the question is it a generic voicemail message, or are we just doing someone specific? Like, you have reached this
Whatever you
person?
want. Whatever will
Okay.
help you feel like you're in the character. If you want to, like, I mean, I could sit here and I could talk to Morgan's character, Austral. I mean, Austral, darling, you're not picking up the phone, and I can't do this anymore. And I really need you to pick up. I know you're not actually listening to me, but I do need you to pick this up. So if you could just call me back, it's very important. Thank you, love you, kiss, kiss. I'll kill you if you don't call me back.
Oh, so it's
There we go. Like that's
Like
my
that.
my ranger,
Oh.
Rosalind. So
Beautiful.
So we're
I
leaving
mean-
a message. We're not setting a voicemail away message.
I
So
mean,
like
whatever.
So like, I mean, I've already done this, and so I know I can leave it as a voicemail message, but this is from my 10 Candles character, Scarlet Lee, which is definitely her real name and not at all like a fake name that she chose because she's just like so gothic. But hey, so like, I think I left my tarot deck at your house the other day. Call me back because I really need it, because I don't want your energies getting all over my deck. Thanks. Okay, bye, bitch. God, that vocal fry. It's like,
You
I
might wanna
live
go
in that
next.
vocal fry. Go for it.
All right. Yeah, this is Giovanni Phineas Murgatroyd of the East End Murgatroyds. I'm just going to let you know that that thing that you wanted me to do is already done, and that yeah, I'm expecting payment by the 3rd, or is that thing that you hired me to do, I'm going to end up having to do to you, and nobody wants that. You know, I really appreciate the repeat business. So if you could just get back to me at your earliest convenience, I would greatly appreciate that. Again, this is Giovanni Phineas Murgatroyd. You know why am I saying my name? You know who I am. Pay me.
That was wonderful.
You spoke first. That means you volunteered. Go.
Oh, balls. Okay, hold on. Hold on. There's okay. Anik, freaking, you started this. I'm Graham left the thing, so I'm gonna be reading that. Give me 1 sec. The poison. All right, here we go. This is Anik's voicemail, a voicemail for Anik. The voice leaving a mail for Anik's phone. Yeah, this one. Anik can't come to the phone right now, but if you would like to leave a message after the beep, please do so. Also, have a great day. That one's for you, Anik.
I
Oh,
really
no.
want to hear you reading parts from a series of unfortunate events now, because Patrick Warburton was in
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So sorry, real quick into this. I can do like the exclamations of Kronk, but speaking it just regularly, I had to go to a series of unfortunate events to find that sort of normal space, because Kronk is a lot of like, oh yeah, it's all coming together. It's all these like exclamations, but regular
Yeah.
conversation, I needed to go find something else. So yeah, I'm very familiar with that.
Nice.
All right, so it seemed like people were very undecided in the chat, so I'm going to do my best for something interesting. It is not ringing. What should I say? Oh, it's very simple. Simply say your name and why you're calling. I am Gardon. I seek to converse with the one who owns this message. What is it, a machine, or is it a spellcraft sending stone? It's neither, really. It's something in between. Very interesting. Please contact me at your soonest convenience. Goodbye. You are very, very stoic, you know that, right? Anakin, if you're getting this, please contact us as soon as you can. Ahsoka's, well, she's gotten into another bit of trouble, and my new friend isn't the most talkative of sorts.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
That was both
Yeah.
amazing and fantastic. Kappa went, Tony. LD, everybody went, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. I thought so, but I am running on no sleep, so forgive me. All right.
Hey, say woo.
So I have a question for everyone.
Hmm?
Mitch is good.
What did you find was the hardest, either accent or voice? Because remember, there is a difference. And
There is.
honestly, if whoever would like to start this question off, if you would be willing to explain the difference to the audience.
Yeah, sure. So accent is very different. So voice is just your voice, but altering it. So like Tanglin Shartfist is kind of like a voice, because I don't change anything about the words I pronounce. Maybe I change up the words I use, but really it's just it's just taking my regular voice and dropping it down and adding a little bit of question at the end of each sentence. Accents are different. Accents, you change the flow of your vowels, your consonants, certain pronunciations of words. So like, you know, if I was talking about Taran Tash, a southern accent, there's there, you drop a lot of the R, whereas there in my regular voice you have that there R at the end, but then in the southern accent there you lose it. And so that's kind of the main difference between accents and voices. So for me, accents are harder. I have a degree in language studies, and so just the wide breadth of different sounds that you can make, and then applying different sounds to the same word is always tricky. It doesn't come super naturally unless you speak that language in which the accent comes from.
That actually, I hate to break in. I'm going to make this one little statement, then I'm going to throw it to whomever. But one thing that you mentioned that really stuck out to me that I think of things is when you think of a voice, it's a way of speaking. When you think of an accent, it's a separate language. If you want to do an accent, in my opinion, you need to study at least a little bit the language of those, the native language of those who have that accent. So if you want to have a French accent, study a little bit of French, et cetera, something like that. Anyway, someone else take over.
So I love accent work. I really love it. I know just enough about it, know just enough about a lot of different accents to be dangerous and not be able to like keep them super, super straight. Minus like French, because I took the language for 6 years. I feel pretty confident in a French accent, or sort of a general French accent. But you go into like a British accent, you have you have a Northern English accent, you have a London English accent, or London/Cockney, you have the received pronunciation, which is that very formal sort of very British accent. But even within received pronunciation, depending on what time period you are, you have like the very no coward, and it's very pinched and everything's forward like this, received pronunciation, which is different than how received pronunciation sounds now. So that's where that's where a lot of people get into trouble with accents, is that there's just so many ways to go. For me, the ones that I always feel really solid on, there's a trick, and this is something that Kappa brought up with accents. To be able to do an accent really well, or to be able to at least fake one decently so that anybody but a native speaker wouldn't be able to tell, you have to make sure your vowel sounds are correct, your R's and your T's. Everything else is kind of wishy-washy, but the R's are almost, the R's are going to tell you whether you're in an Irish accent or a Scottish accent, because they sound different. The T's are going to tell you the same thing if you're, or, because Scottish is going to like leave out the T's, but in Irish, they don't. They're sort of they flatten their tongue a lot when they get to their T's. Your vowel sounds are the same thing. You have a really open A, or in the Irish, Aoife Gallert is like that. She's very smart, and everything's sort of wide, and there's a sing-songy thing to it. So accents are really tricky, and I think that's why a lot of people are, sorry, I get really like about it, but that I think is why it gets really tricky for a lot of people. Whereas voices is just, playing with the like up and down, playing with where a voice can resonate in your head. Like, are you super nasal? Are you somebody who speaks really fast? Because that can change how your voice sounds. Are you speaking really slow? That can change how your voice sounds. Are you somebody who keeps everything very tight in your mouth? That will change versus somebody who's very open and sort of flowy and resonating in your nose versus resonating in your chest. All of that. It's a lot easier to play with a voice than it is to like find the rules of the accent. Without that, needs a little study.
Agreed. Also, we just hit 3K. Thank
Yeah.
you,
Just saw that.
everyone.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Hype, y'all. What even?
I agree a lot with everything that LD said. My English accent is London English because I've spent most of my time in London. So I'm one of those unfortunate people that as long as I'm around somebody with an accent, if I'm there too long, I will come out with an accent. It was really bad when I was in Boston. Um, and knowing how they pronounce things, like the TH in British language is, so if you were to say teeth, it comes out as teeth. So if I just tell you to go and brush your teeth, then you have to be able to make sure that you can make that sound the right way. And I like my girlfriend, I don't know how she puts up with it, but I change voices and accents all the time throughout the day. And it's fun to just play with them. So like 5 minutes, I'll be British, 10 minutes, I'll be Russian. And then I'll go from, hey, my kind of sultry and fun voice that people seem to like to, I'll just kind of go to my little higher, little speaker, little more excited voice. And it's all about just really just like playing with it.
Um, I agree with what everyone has said. The one thing no one's really mentioned that helps me specifically, I don't know if it helps anyone else, what helps me specifically is watching someone speak. And that comes with voices
Yes.
and accents.
Mm-hmm.
Last week I was trying to get a Crypt Keeper voice down. I just wanted to have fun. And I kind of remembered what he sounded like, but I couldn't exactly place it in my head. So I had to go and watch some videos, and even watching, footage of Tales from the Crypt, I couldn't get it. So then I looked up videos of the VA for Crypt Keeper panels, and I could see that he was constricting his throat muscles really, really tightly, and he was flaring out his nostrils a lot. So he was talking by constraining his, just doing this a lot, and it hurts. But obviously, as time went on, he got more used to that, and he could loosen it up a little bit and just built those muscles up. So if you want to nail down a voice or an accent, one thing I would suggest is to find someone who can do that voice or accent or something similar to it, and watch what they look like when they're speaking, because then you can try and mimic that. Because it's one thing to say, yeah, Scottish, their O's are longer. Well, what does that look like? We know what it sounds like. What does it look like? If you can replicate the shape of their mouth, you can more efficiently make the sound.
Well said.
Exactly.
Also keep in mind too, like your posture. Like you don't even need to
Yes.
have
Oh,
to do
it's
an
huge.
accent. You can do your posture. Like if I want to sit and I want to talk like my Cobalt Geary, I scrunch my lungs so I'm not taking in as much air. And
Mhm.
I actually start to talk like this and I'm not straining my voice. But the minute I want to talk like Ruby, I start sitting up much straighter and I imagine that I'm pulling this string out from the top of my head and I go into my falsetto. But that might just be because I've done 12 years of choir and if going to my falsetto is a hell of a lot easier. Anyone else?
No,
Yeah, and
that's exactly it.
Mhm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
we're-
as a youth singer thing, like voices are very physical in general. And I think one of the hard things about, in trying to find a voice for like this kind of Zoom setup is that we're sort of limited because most professional voice actors, they're going to be standing in the booth so that they can get their full range. Whereas we're sitting in a chair in front of a camera. So there's sort of limits to what you can do. Also, we're talking as a character for 3 to 4 hours on a weekly basis. So like when you're playing a character or when you're choosing a voice for a character, you don't want to choose something you don't want to choose something where you're like this the whole time because it's going to trash your voice. So you have to be able to find that balance of like, how can I do that in a way that's sustainable?
Mhm. That's
And
actually
that's just like finding your extremes and then bringing it back to like a center, or like finding going all the way to the extreme and then coming back to the center. But it's all, yeah, just putting your shoulders back is going to make
Mhm.
you sound more confident. Whereas bringing yourself in is going to maybe not, like a little more nervous, a little unsure.
I think it might be partly like almost a psychological thing, as
I
for
agree.
us as animals, because obviously it's also like a physiological thing. If you bring your shoulders back, you open your airway up a little bit more so you can get a bit deeper of a voice or project a little bit more. And then if you crunch in, then you're restricting your airway just a little bit. But it's also a thing of, I think when we as animals, we naturally kind of get a little bit more timid and a little bit quieter if we scrunch in a little bit more, because we're kind of channeling into that that older ancient brain of ours of really being kind of scared and unsure of what's going on around us.
Yeah, and your facial expressions will play a lot, like Tal was saying earlier, like the way your mouth moves. Because I know when I do Geo, like my bottom lip tends to like curl up into like a slight sneer, and I'm just like, hey, yeah, just kind of do it like this, and just kind of get the mouth starts to do like that. I start to feel a little more snug, and so. And then, like when I'm doing the Russian accent, I relax it a bit more, and then it flows more out of the voice, like fine vodka. Sorry, vodka.
Yeah, no, if you noticed when I was doing the Patrick Warburton impression, I'd squint my eyes like this. It's because that's what he does.
Mhm.
And it helps. It really does. Um Something that I feel needs to be said when it comes to accents, though, is be careful what accents you pick, because not every accent um is portrayed accurately in readily available media. Like
100%. Yeah.
as someone who is Japanese, the Japanese accent portrayed in most media is so bad. It's so bad, and it's just it hurts me every single time. And so um if you're going to do something like that, where it's not especially for this is especially true for accents that don't stem from an English speaking background, or whatever language that you're trying to do an accent for, um be really careful. Do your research. We said it earlier. Really, really go into it. Mitch asked a question in chat: how much practice do you put into a new character voice for longer campaigns? And that time, like for me, it's at least 3 weeks if it's going to be a long campaign. But that if I want to do something like Japanese or something, the research and the practice extends that time at least another 2 weeks, at least double, I should say, because I want to do it right. I don't want to I don't want to be um, forwarding more stereotypes, even though I identify as part of that population. You know,
Mhm.
yeah. I just saw that question and automatically
Yeah.
went, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
100%. I
Yeah,
mean, with a longer
100%.
campaign, you've got time to adjust. If you're getting like one aspect of it a little bit too stereotypical, you've got some extra time to adjust. If you're doing a one shot, you got to nail it. And that's it. That's your one shot, literally.
Like going back to I mean, as far as like length and stuff, as I start working on that character voice as soon as I know that I'm in the game and like have a vague idea of the concept of the character. And in some cases, I have a voice in mind already that I'm like, oh, or I have a couple of voices floating around nebulously that I'm like, okay, this is the campaign I want to use that voice in. And then I just keep drilling it. So like in the podcast that I'm in where I'm using the Deanna Troy voice, I've had that accent in my back pocket for a while, but I've never used it for a character. And just the combination of like factors was like when I'm like, okay, now I really have to make sure that I know what this accent is and nail it. And because I want to use it for this campaign. And Aoife was for Sunsets on Summer was the same way where I mean, I don't remember how long we were planning Sunsets on Summer, but I I knew pretty early on that Aoife was going to have a Irish Celtic accent because also it's Skyrim. Like that's all of the accents in there are like either like a vague English accent or some vague Celtic-y thing. So I was like, so that's, I mean, I probably worked on that and walked my dog up and down the street for like an hour each day, just saying stuff as Aoife out loud for a month, probably at least.
What about you, Tony? How long does it take for you to find a voice that you're happy with for a campaign?
Uh, See, for me, a lot of times I'll have the voice and then I'll make the character. So it's something that I've already been playing with. Like for Giovanni, I had that voice in my pocket for a while and I was like, ooh, I finally get to use this voice and make the character because, again, I'm just random and I change voices throughout the day and even when I'm at work. Um, but like when I switched voices from Atlas to from my like more dulcet monotone voice into his Iolan accent, it took me a while to be able. It took me probably about 3 game sessions before I remembered it's like, okay, now we're going into the Iolan accent, the Russian accent. And sometimes if you look at my lips before I start speaking, you'll see me do the Das Vidanya, like before I start talking to like put myself back into it.
I hate to steal some of the spotlight from Dax as our moderator, but I had a question for everyone else. And I saw something similar scroll through in chat. But we've talked a lot about the technique of getting a voice and getting an accent. But when we get on stream or even just playing with our friends, we often act in those characters too. What do y'all do to actually improve as acting in roleplay? Obviously, we're not going to be up for an Oscar or anything anytime soon, but it always helps to immerse ourselves and our friends in the game. So, what do y'all do? I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, we could win a streamy.
Yeah,
I'll put forth this one small thing. So if anybody has watched the first Dawn stream here on O4A, you know that I played a halfling cleric of Sarenrae called Ruby. And the first thing out of Ruby's mouth, for the most part, was basically telling another character, "Please don't kneel down to me. Like I find it disrespectful." I mean, it certainly was not that eloquent, but that's essentially what she did. And I've had to do that with people. So when I am acting as the character and I'm trying to say, okay, well, I'm already pulling up my voice and I'm imagining the string coming up. So what would a really short person do? Oh, please don't kneel down. You know, I can talk to you just fine if I'm looking up at you. You know, I start to think like that character. And that's why I ended up choosing a higher voice for that character, was because this character was much smaller than I am.
Yeah. I have different characters that I kind of associate with different, like actual, like already established characters from like movies and stuff that I associate with different characters. Like Giovanni was Dom DeLuise from Robin Hood Men in Tights. That's pretty much
yeah.
where that came from. So when I'm getting into that voice, I think of that scene with him in the castle. He's pulling the cotton balls out of his mouth and everything, and I'm like, yeah, that right there. That's where Giovanni comes from. So I start thinking about that scene, and then everything that was transpiring in it like puts me in that mood.
I have a character that I have a voice for that I have had she's just waiting for a campaign and I've talked about her. She's a Shatterkai and she's kind of, and I looked at her and she was kind of sneaky and kind of quiet and she lives in the shadows, and her name is Ravani Saar, and she's a little creepy because that's the Shatterkai. Like, you don't know what they're doing. And it's different which is different than my like goth Valley girl voice. But it's also I realized that I had been doing a slight impression of a character from Farscape named Chiana, who sort of is also gray. Yeah, I'm a Farscape nerd, friends. And so and when I realized that that's where I had taken that voice from, I was like, that helped me sort of develop Rabini as an actress too. And like I said, I haven't actually gotten a chance to really get into her and really play her, and I want to so bad someday. But knowing like that's who she's based on and knowing those nuances, I also, like I said, I just talk to myself and talk to my dog a lot. There's a lot of that.
Yeah. Um, my technique is to help prepare me for acting as a character is do a lot of writing, like imagined monologues and
That's really good.
responses to scenarios. Like for a long time, the Tanklin voice didn't. I could never play it, so all I did was just imagine a scenario and think about how he would respond, and then I would play that back. Like I'd read it to myself, see if that's the voice that I want to go with, and then start doing variations of that. And then from there, it just branches out. Like you can go into more exaggerated, more or more what's it called, subdued emotions or whatever. But yeah, like I do a lot of writing when it comes to trying to nail down who this character is, because uh, I don't know if you're like me, a lot of your characters are just little pieces of yourself, and you need to isolate those, or else you're just gonna be playing yourself, which is fine and that's okay. Um, but maybe that's not what you wanted.
You don't know anything about that, Tony.
I don't know. It seems a little sus, Tony.
But yeah, I also hope one day to play in like a villain campaign. So I have so many villain monologues that
Oh,
I just
you and me
I,
both,
Oh,
Kappa.
oh
I'm
my
okay. I'm
goodness.
I'm outsourcing all three of you, or I'm insourcing, whatever the case may be. I'm
Yeah.
going to insource the three of you for the next time I need villains. Maybe not you, Kappa, for reasons.
okay.
Okay. So we have enough time. We can answer one more quick question before we have to do sign offs, I think. Alex actually brought up in chat, how does your prep differ when you're preparing for a voice versus when you are preparing for an accent? We touched a little bit on it a little earlier in the stream, but maybe if everybody would be willing to maybe expand upon that as far as your specific techniques.
Sure. I would very much be willing to expand on that. For me, when it comes to it's kind of the same process where I will kind of isolate myself and try and go through different scenarios to find the right accent for a character as well as the right voice. But I do a lot more studying and a lot more recording myself and listening back to myself alongside recordings of the accent that I'm trying to do. The only one that I personally feel I've really nailed is probably my Irish accent. It seems to be a bit more towards the south a little bit, but it's adequate, I think. And that's the one I'm most confident in, but I still try and do the same process for every single accent. The voices, I'm more confident in my ability to just wing it, but it still all falls down to kind of being by myself and running through these different scenarios and trying to push myself into different emotions and ranges with that voice to see, can I consistently do this? Because I can do, and I'm sure most everyone here can do, any accent you ask of us for 1 or 2 or 3 sentences, but pulling it off consistently for 3 hours every week, it gets a little more difficult. So for me, it's all about practicing and just listening to myself, listening to source audio of the accent, and just kind of consistently practicing to be consistent. What about you, Tony?
Um, I usually either recite movie quotes and lines in the accent or I sing in the accent.
That's an interesting one. I've never heard of singing in the accent. That's really cool. I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah. So
That's
if it's a
hard.
song that I know really well, like I'll be in the car and I was like, let's see what it sounds like if I sing this with a Russian accent, because it forces me to be able to move with the beat and the tempo while simultaneously changing my voice and constricting those throat muscles that allow me to go into it. So like I first started doing it with British, and then I felt pretty confident about my British accent, so then I started doing it with Russian and other accents, and then I just started like monologuing from movie quotes and stuff like that.
Um, I so I want to touch on. I didn't realize that I did this until you brought it up, but I also write a lot, especially for. But I'll do it for voices because I tend to work better with like a script, or I always feel more comfortable myself with them when I'm working off of a script. So I will write my own script to give myself something to read back and like to test out accents and to test out voices. I tend to do I with accents, I definitely try to make sure that I know the vowel. I have words in there that are those vowel sounds, are those R's, are those T's. Um, a sentence that I know will also get myself into the musicality of the accent, because in a lot of accents, that's a big part of it. Is in Irish isn't in Irish unless it's going up and down and you're kind of singing it a little bit, right? Um, for a voice, I again it I don't do as much of that kind of prep work. A lot of it's just like talking in character and figuring out what my character would say to find that voice. um yeah, I want to say so like Deanna Troy, that's my keywords, finding those vowels. Riker, Picard, Beverly, Wesley, Geordie, Data's a big one for Deanna Troy because you've got those A's and that weird T that she does. Worf is a big one because she swallows that O in a very strange way. Counselor Deanna Troy of the Starship Enterprise, and then that's how I get into her. I do sing for French because I do sing in French. So when I'm doing Iris Winters, I sing some non, rien de rien, non, je ne regrette rien. Yeah. Alors, allez, venez, Milord, nous asseoir à ma table. Il fait si froid dehors, ici c'est confortable. And because I took French for 6 years and was in musical theater, and that's, that's how I get into French, is by singing it. Yeah. So I don't know if that actually answers the questions. I'm just showing off really, but that's what that is.
Yeah. I read the question as like, what do you do to prep for a voice versus an accent, like before a session? So
Mhm.
always vocal exercises to stretch, just like with your muscles. These are muscles. You don't want to injure them. So um really like going down the octaves as I settle in and going back up and then back down again so that I can get used to the progression, the going up and down. Um, Breathing exercises so that you don't run out of air in the middle of a sentence. That's huge. You can look all of these up. I'm not going to go into them. But yeah, there's a lot of vocal exercises. One to keep like this good, but then also like keeping this like flexible and all that stuff, because a lot of sounds happen here too. Um, so that's what I usually do for voices and accents. But the real differentiation between voices and accents is very similar to Lady Dame. Sometimes I'll sing, sometimes I'll go into the key phrases. For an accent, I don't have to do that so much for a voice. For a voice, it's more of um, purposefully talking slower or faster, or settling into that posture or that posture, to get used to being in that, because I know I'm going to be in that for three or more hours. So that's where that is. That's where for me the difference between voice and
That we've all kind of mentioned that I'd like to touch on just really quickly is taking care of your voice. Because if you do want to do this in a professional environment, it will be your moneymaker. And even if you want to just do it for fun, if you hurt your voice, you're not going to feel good for a while. So definitely take care of your voice whenever you're trying anything. If you feel it start to hurt, stop.
Hey, Tal. You know what a great way to take care of your voice is? With
Tell us,
a
Tony.
lovely mug of dryad tea to help soothe and relax those vocal muscles.
Oh, really? Tell us more.
Indeed.
We're
A
all
little
about the
tea
shameless
with some
plugs.
all about the shameless
I don't
plugs.
know about you, Anakin, but I always drink dryad tea when I meditate.
I drink dryad tea out of my mug of splendor from Found Familiar.
Indeed.
And with that shameless plug to show just how low we will go for the kids.
For the children.
For the
Also, we
younglings.
do have our sponsor in chat, and we do love her. So hi. So we're gonna do our sign-offs, but as part of your sign-offs, and with sign-offs, we always say who we are, where people can find us, maybe a project that we're working on right now that people can check you out with. One thing that we got a suggestion for is everybody is going to say the same line before they start their call-outs or their sign-offs, and you're gonna say it in a different accent or voice. So you can choose, but you can only choose one. And the line is going to be part of the journey is the end. And we'll popcorn this so that it goes relatively quickly. So Tony, would you mind starting us off?
Not at all. So, part of the journey is the end. Also, Ohana means family. I am Tony Ballard Smoot. I can be found everywhere on the internet as Captain Lagrange or Capt Lagrange. You can find me here on Monday nights on Fate's Chosen. You can find me later tonight at 9 Eastern, 8 Central for our Down the Rabbit Hole game, which will be a lot of fun, where I'll be playing the Boulder, which is going to
Ooh.
be so much fun. Yeah, that's me.
Someone.
Tao.
I knew you'd pick me. I just knew it. I saw it in your eyes. Saw it in all your eyes, both of them. But truth be told, the journey. What was the line again? I'd forgotten.
I put it in chat. Part of the journey is the end.
Part of the
Thank you,
journey
Cap.
is the end. Part of the end is the journey? Is that the line? Part of the journey is the end. Well, we'll go with that. My name's Taldoz. You can find me on the internet, Taldoz. It has absolutely no meaning. It is just a random sound that I made trying to come up with a name for a wizard. You can find me on the Discord. I like to chill. I like to just quote Star Wars, usually 59 minutes out of 60. I will also be in the Down the Rabbit Hole one shot tonight with Tony, where I will be playing Gardon, the Simic hybrid planeswalker from Ravnica. Let's throw it to Kappa.
Hello. Oh, sorry. Part of the journey is the end. Hi, I'm Kappa. I also go by Christian. You can find me on Twitter at the Kappa Chris, where a lot of my projects and stuff I'll be hyping up and nerding out about all the things. Saturdays, this channel at 5:30 Pacific. I'm in the Numenera campaign as Verve, the risk-taking Jack who touches the ding-dang sky. And on Sundays at 1 p.m. Pacific, I'm in the Death's Keepers Sunday stream, where I play Echo. It's just my voice, the Rogue Ranger Tiefling. Wednesdays, you can find me on Kevin Kudo's channel on Twitch, where we are for Revenge of the Crit, a D&D 5e Star Wars themed campaign with a bunch of really cool voice actors. And Dax, I'm in we're Roads Uncharted season 2. Look out for that. I was like, I looked at your face and I was like, I lost. I know it's RU, but is it anyway? I'll be joining.
I cannot wait until Roads Uncharted season 2.
There you go. So Roads Uncharted season 2. We've already started recording sessions. Look out for that. I'm gonna be a player in that. So yeah, I think that's all my stuff. And anyway, just Twitter at the Kappa Chris. If I forgot anything, I'll update there. Lady Dame.
That's me. Hi, I'm Lady Dame. You can find me pretty much everywhere that's important at the Lady Dame. That's both on Twitch and Twitter. I am here Wednesdays at noon Central in the Uncaged Anthology, where I play Pris, who's the sweetest Disney princess of a tiefling ever and a very quiet librarian type. I also am playing Treni in the Watch of Black Glass podcast that's going to be coming out January 3rd of 2021, which is going to be incredible. Let's see, what else do I have going on? I also stream on my own channel for the month of November. Actually, it's been really fun. Sunday through Tuesday at 9 p.m. Pacific time, I am reading classic novels. I am finishing up The Secret Garden this week and then starting in on Treasure Island. And then on Fridays, I stream Arcade Spirits, where I do voices along because visual novels are fun that way. And then on Saturdays, starting next week, I'm going to be reading terrible, terrible, smutty fan fiction. There may be some guests. We'll see. I'm not at all terrified or nervous about that.
I have to ask.
Yeah.
One, you forgot the line. Two, is one.
Oh,
of your guests gonna
Shiza, I
be
did.
Enemy Dark Nest Adventure Raven Way again for the third time.
That's an annual thing, is Dark Ebony. Like it, I read My Immortal for Halloween as a stretch goal for a charity drive, and that sort of inspired with that. Oh, so right. So I'll do this voice for the part of the journey is the end. That's all, I suppose. Yeah.
And I think that leaves me right just
Yeah,
in time for my
that's
dog to
Dex.
start snoring at my
leaves
feet.
you,
It's fine.
Dak, yes.
All right. So I will not skip the line. I will actually so we were talking about southern accents, right? So part of the journey is the end. Now y'all want some sweet tea for that? No? All right. So hi, I'm Dax. You can find me on Twitter at GM_Dax. I am the game master and the producer for Roads Uncharted, which is an actual play Genesis RPG podcast. Currently on a small hiatus while we record season 2. However, season 1 is out there for you to listen to on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, as well as you can find us on our website at simplecast.com. We wanted to thank everyone for joining us. We have plenty more TTRPGs. We have another talk show, which Kappa is going to be in, and it's going to be insane chaos. Like Anik and Swapper were the morning chaos, and Kappa and Seth are going to be the afternoon chaos. So it's going to be great. So please, yes, exactly. That, I mean, what more could you need? So please stick around. You know, hype us up, have fun and chat. We've still got more giveaways and stuff too. So thank you, everyone who helped us get to $3,000. Let's see if we can make it to our next goal at 4,000. Bye.
Goodbye. May the force be with you.
Oh baby, I love your madness. It's so incredibly beautiful. Oh, you shine like gold, so selfless to all, and wild like an animal. Some would say I'm insane in the right in a way, but I just love to play in your fun and your games. Always hungry for more.